So just change subjects a little bit. Billy, we got something new coming out next week. What's coming out next week? Aren't the guys, are they brewing another Sholey? Is it Skywater? Don't we have some more cans?
We're brewing a little bit of everything right now. We got some pilot batches going that are really cool that hopefully will be coming out in the next little while. You just finished a little bit of one?
Had a little taste of one, a little rye IPA.
Yeah,
talk more about
little
that.
rye IPA.
Yeah.
Well, the rye is actually inspired because of our farm. It's, one of those beers that I don't know if it's necessarily going to be part of our field series, but it is part of our field series because it's coming from our field. So, but yeah, we're really excited about that because it's geared towards highlighting our farm. So we're really excited about the rye. I can't really say the name yet, even though I want to. But most importantly, we have some more of these bad boys coming out next week.
More of the
That's
Skywater.
exciting.
More Skywater cans, which are heavily sought after
So people should
in
be
the
happy
Albany
to hear
area.
that.
So
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
people will be excited to hear that. So
And so we're going to ramp up production, or are we going to
we're ramping up production daily.
We're just going to give them a case and then they let everybody fight over it?
Well, we are doing the whole fight over it thing for a little while. We're really high on quality, as we've talked about before. We talked
So
about
is
it a
that
little bit
why
about.
we haven't produced more?
It is. It's the quality of our product. It's making sure that the Skywater in this can is exactly like the Skywater that comes in your pint glass in the tap room. It's highest quality that you can possibly get, and as fresh as you can possibly get it. So that's key to us releasing our beer in these smaller amounts. Is we're just trying to. Our brewmaster and our head brewer are working daily trying to figure all that out and to master it and to make sure that each Skywater you drink is the same as the last one and the same amount of quality.
Sounds cool. So Sholey comes out, or Sholey has gone
Sholey's out. Sholey's in the market. We're at all your local package stores, all your local convenience stores. Everybody's carrying us right now. I know they've been flying off the shelf as well, so if you haven't gotten a six-pack, you need to.
When can the people expect to always find Skywater or Sholey on their shelf in the grocery store or package store when they want to?
Later
buy
this
your
year.
beer? Okay.
I mean,
Awesome.
not as far off as you would expect. It's
Okay.
coming. We're working daily towards gearing up for that type of production.
Cool.
And not to mention the cannon line's a whole different experience for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm proud to say I'm part of the cannon team. I get to stand over there and stack boxes and put the tops on the cans. So it's been fun to be a part of that, and then just to be a part of that whole manufacturing process, like you talked about, and then to go to the store and say, man, my hands were on that product as it was being, developed and put together and put out in the market. So yeah, it's a pride thing, and I think. Even if you just go to the tap room and you look in and you're like, oh, man, I was just there and saw that cannon line. I was there, last week when they were running it or whatever, and then you see it in the store. So it just draws people to it.
Well, it's kind of like I said earlier, too. Beer, bourbon, food, anything where the person that makes the product, it tastes better. The one exception to that, you make a salad at home and you made it, it doesn't taste
right. That's right.
Why are you eating salads?
Why are you
on the
eating
beer
salad at
drink,
home?
I should eat a salad. Right.
I will grill you something. Come over. I grill ribs every
Put a big
week.
steak on top of your salad, it tastes better.
Maybe it does taste better.
Yeah, that's doctor's orders.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna open one of these.
So are we? So as far as the Gosa goes, is that coming out anytime soon? Have we figured
That would
that
make
out?
me so happy. Let me just say that.
What's that? Goza
It
in
goes in cans.
Goza in cans is a work in progress. We are trying to figure out how we can do that. It's
Why is it a work in progress?
because it can't go through the same filler as our other beer goes through, because like we talked about earlier, the lactobacillus and the way it's kettle soured, it could
Infect.
it could infect the other beers going through. So that's a big no, and Eric will not stand for that.
No.
Which
Yeah.
is what we
So
love
our
about
most
him.
important thing is
His
what?
highest quality.
Yeah.
Quality. I mean, if we don't have quality, we don't have any beer because it's going to be dumped down the drain, and and that's not what we want to do. So we're taking extra precautions. Like I said, we only brew the Goza in one tank, and so as far as canning goes, we are trying to figure out how to make that happen, and it may possibly be one of those things where we just do limited run of bottles or bombers or something like that. We're working on it daily and talking about how to get it out, especially the berry goza as well, because it tends to be highly sought after as well.
What's a bomber?
It's a bigger bottle, the 22-ounce
Okay.
bottles.
I don't know. We actually got comic relief in the
Bomber
corner.
something else?
Yeah, we actually got comic relief.
That's really cool, though. Like, even though people
A
really
big
want to be
beer.
able to see it in the package store or in the supermarket, the fact that you're taking so much care in what you're doing, and you may, I'm not saying you will, you could get to a point where you say, you know what, this is all that we can do, and we're really
Right.
comfortable with that.
Right.
And people will still want your product.
Right. And
So
craft
it's pretty
drinkers, I
cool.
think, understand that more than anything because they know it's a craft product and it's an art form and it's a quality product that they're getting, and they're not going to, I mean, if you put out an inferior product, that's worse than not having it
That's
out
worse
there.
than not having it. Well, and the
So-
fact that people can come down to the tap room, they can see you make it.
Right.
They know how much care you're putting into it. They can sit there, they can play a game of chess, they can turn their shoulder, and they see people making beer.
Right.
It's really cool.
Right. You see Eric doing pull-ups on the...
And
pulling
Kirchner,
himself
I mean, he
up.
worked at one of the best breweries in the world, and so he brings that technical skill and I don't know fanaticism to what he does here, and us trying to tweak our product line and our ingredient source list, using the products that we get from the farm and taking those and the it really takes the terroir of where we are here and brings it to what people are drinking in downtown Albany. And that's super cool. I mean, that is, I couldn't have dreamed of anything better or a better story than that. I mean, it's just not, I mean, from Texas to Virginia, there's nobody else that is truly doing that.
Right.
That's farmed for a generation that, is using that and has a brewer of that category or caliber who's here. And it's just like world-class. Well, Coates and Clark's been here for 100 or how long?
80 years?
80 years, almost 100 years.
1940s.
And I would never compare ourselves to them because of their longevity. We're just getting started. But the idea that breweries are some of the longest-lasting businesses in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at Guinness, they've been there since, I think, the 1500s. So taking that and doing a really good job of it, I think people rally around that, just the idea of the...
They have rallied around it, and I mean, this goes way back in the conversation, but you talked about people leaving on the weekends. Well, I can't tell you how many people I run into in the tap room that I haven't met before, and I'm kind of like, man, where have you been? I don't know you. You not go to the moon? They're like, well, we go out of town on the weekends. We go to Atlanta, or we go to Tallahassee, or we go to Macon, but now here they are standing in the tap room on a Saturday, waiting for the band to play or just enjoying a pint while their kids run around. I mean, it's just...
Well, and you were really
all that builds
smart
up
to
with
do
that.
it where it was family friendly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
And dogs. Don't
And
forget
dog
about
friendly. I've
dogs,
seen them
yeah.
all. Like our daughter, we'd love to bring her down here on the weekends, and she
We've had a
wants to
cat.
play chess.
Yeah, it's really.
Really,
We've
she
had a
likes
cat
to-
on a leash, yeah.
You have? Oh, I think
Cats
I
are
saw
weird.
that.
Let's go ahead and put that out there on the podcast. Cats are weird.
You're the only
Cats
one
on
here who
leash.
doesn't like cats.
because they're weird.
I'm not a fan of
Because they
it.
don't like you. But it's been really cool. Like you can engage a really diverse audience, from little kids to complete older folks, and everybody has a really good time. We love to come and play Candyland, okay? Play chess. I love the kids are doing cartwheels in the grass. They're playing the big, massive Jenga. They're
yeah.
meeting other people. And then you're doing the pop-up markets also with Farmer Fredo and with Tift Market.
And those have done really well. That's
they're
one of
so
They've done great.
popular.
Yeah.
I think y'all actually put out a post the other day that said, just so you know, Farmer Fredo won't be here. He's going on his
Yeah.
anniversary trip.
Yeah.
But we're still open.
Right,
So
yeah.
it was great.
Farmer Fredo, he's a whole nother podcast. We
Well,
can probably do a whole podcast on
should.
Farmer Fredo.
Even my mom, who I've never seen drink a beer, said she may start drinking beer so she can hang out at the tap room.
Well, I don't actually
She
drink
likes
beer
to play
either,
so
but I
much.
love the berry goza.
Yeah. It's delicious.
It is.
Yeah, my mom drives my dad. My dad never lets my mom drive, but on Sundays he comes and has a beer and lets her drive him home. It's pretty amazing.
Well, one thing that's cool too about your location across the street here is that we've seen some research that said, what do young people want in a town? And they want high-speed internet, and they want a place to bring their dogs. So there you go.
There we
You're
go.
getting one of those.
Yeah.
So put in some blazing hot.
You know, it's
Wi-Fi.
interesting.
We got
It's
internets.
interesting. Most of those same young people are
We got
are
internet.
not drinking beer, so to bring them back to the fold would be a good thing too. So maybe they have a place to bring their dog, and we'll
Right.
serve them a beer.
Right.
So and then
Craft
that's
beer.
a craft beer, but we have one of the largest, best breweries in the world here already. Kudos to Miller Brewing. They're awesome. And they're not our competition, which is what people should understand. We're a very small, very distinct market. We're probably 7%, maybe even 6% of the overall beer market, which is even less than the total alcohol sales. Our main competitor really is wine and spirits. So if you look at the overall market, we're competing against wine and spirits, and all the beer guys can get in the same car and rally around, because if we increase the market just a little bit, we all do better. So that's a really cool thing, because in other businesses that we're involved in, it's a very dog eat dog type part. But I haven't found that at all in the beer industry. It's we talk about recipes, they help each other. When we have an issue, one of the reasons we decided on the canning line that we decided on, our Wild Goose canning line, go Wild Goose, is that there were many other people in the state that were using it, and we knew that if we had an issue, we could call them and say, our filler's not working. What do we need to do? How do we tweak this? What do we go from there and there? So once again, talking about community, the beer community is very collegial.
Right.
And we spread, and being able to talk to different people throughout has been a refreshing thing. It's pretty cool.
It is refreshing. It's fun to see brewers talk to get them all together.
Y'all went to the Brewers Conference,
We went
right?
to the Brewers Conference, and Uncle Albert and I were just kind of awestruck, sitting back and just watching all these brewers communicate and just hang out. I mean, it's like a whole different world. It's such camaraderie. And going to what you said, there's a place called Wild Leap in the Grange, not too far from here. They actually let Eric go brew with them before we even opened, just to get
Because
a
they
feel
have
for that
the
brewing system. They have the
similar
same,
system.
they have the same setup, and we have one of their tanks
But
in our brew house.
Do
now.
they all have biblical beards like you do?
Most of them, man. There was a beer competition the last day, and I told Albert, I'm growing my beard out until then, and he said, please don't. But yeah, there are some glorious beards there.
You talked about the cooperation within the beer industry and these craft brewers, and I think we can look at the big industry and see the same. I think there's always and certainly we've experienced it here, where you think, well, our industries are always competing. Well, some of them are, but for the most part, even when they're in competition, there's still good people that want to help each other.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the cool things that we've seen with our smaller businesses and with our larger industries is informing relationships and building trust and building partnerships. You could be at one business, one big industry, and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or what are your thoughts on this? And you call who could be conceived a competitor, and they're willing to work with you. And that's a really cool thing. I don't know if it happens in all communities. I do know that it happens here, and I think it says something about our people.
It does. Albany's always had that sense of community to me, and I think especially as I've been more in the business world as an adult, I've seen it. Just people help each other out. And I mean, it's all for the good of the community. And I mean, it's just about taking care of the community and taking care of everybody in the community, having everything available that they need to just to accomplish what needs to be accomplished.
Neighbors
together.
find other neighbors' dogs
Yes.
and bring them home.
Yes.
Things like that
thankfully.
happen.
Yeah. Are there kids try to keep them?
That's a story.
So
What's going on there?
podcast disclaimer, Billy and I are actual neighbors. We live across the street from each other.
Yep.
And then we are work neighbors.
Absolutely. Across the
So,
street from each other as
Yeah,
well.
we actually ride a tandem bike to work
We
every
do
day.
sometimes. We do.
Oh.
I yell out the window, "Heidi ho, neighbor!" Every morning.
You probably do. I bet he really does. He probably doesn't have a shirt on either.
Sometimes there is a pretty funny overall story about me picking up pine cones in the yard, and your little girl asking who the farmer was. Or
Oh
something
yeah,
like that. What was that?
So pretty funny too. I also saw Billy's son one time just throwing the pine cones in the bushes.
Yeah, I was like, go outside and pick up the pine cones. He's
So apparently he had pine cone duty the next day after I ratted him out.
And then I think he threw him in the street.
Sorry, Bo. If Bo's listening, sorry about
I'm
that.
surprised he didn't start throwing them in your yard, tattletale.
He will now.
Yeah, he will. Just chuck him across the street.
He's getting about the age where he can pull some mischief. So watch out.
You're right. I mean, community in Albany is, a lot of times people ask, what's the best thing about Albany? It's the people.
Oh yeah.
It's the community of people that we have.
Right.
And so to see what y'all have done to bring people together downtown and build community is amazing.
If there's anything that we could do over the next and part of the whole idea of this podcast series was to promote positive thoughts, positive comments, positive conversation about not only the downtown, but just about Albany in general. And when it seemed like that when I first came back almost a decade ago, that there wasn't a lot of positive commentary that was going on about the city. You hear, and still there's a lot of negative stuff, and I don't deny that we have our issues, but you have to look to the future. You have to think positively. Yep. You have to find the problems and fix them. Don't just talk about them. Don't just, in general, let's compete against, Macon seems to have gotten their act together. I lived there for a decade going to residency. I wouldn't have gone downtown because I would have been afraid of, getting hurt. Now
they completely changed it.
Yeah, they got they got an awesome downtown.
It's amazing.
They've got bar after bar. They've got breweries. They've got places to go eat, diners. They outfitters. They're setting up to go on the river there. So it's really look into them and let's compete with them. Let's do better than they did. Okay, we've got all the tools, all of the natural resources. All of the people here that care about the community, and so let's go out and do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is about, and I hope that's what our voice is going to carry over into.
Well, sometimes it takes a couple of people to make that change in downtown. I mean, you look in Macon, at what my buddy Wes has done there.
Wes Griffin,
and taking on some
Creek 100 Point.
Creek 100.9,
Creek, the Rookery.
He's an amazing guy.
And y'all partnered with him on some and promoting the beer there. Yeah. And you look at what he's done and taken upon himself to try and help revitalize downtown Macon. I mean, that's really what y'all have done.
And continues to do, even though downtown Macon's thriving. They're still looking at more ways to make it better and better. And I think that's what we have to do. I worry sometimes people are like, oh, we have a brewery downtown. We're good. I mean, we need more. We need to continue to grow. We need to strive to bring more people down, even more so than we brought down to the brewery.
That festival atmosphere that promotes arts and promotes downtown music and promotes festivals and those things and continuously brings people here. Not only our people, but we want to get to the point where the people in Thomasville and people in Valdosta and people in, I think back to my chairman, people in Dothan are coming back to Albany to look at the cool things that we have to offer.
Yeah,
and once we get,
we're bringing in some folks in a few weeks from Atlanta who help us with economic development on a statewide level. And I asked one of them when I found out that they're going to come. I said, "What do you want to do? We want to go to your new brewery." First thing. So
perfect.
That's what they know.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, so as far as the coming up year, Chamber, EDC, do y'all have any specific goals that y'all are working on? Is there one thing that if you could tout one thing for the next year, is there something y'all would like to talk about?
I think for us at Economic Development, it's continue to promote our existing industries and then also tell the stories of successes that our industries have had here in order to help recruit new industry. And so I think we're going to see that pay off in the next year of bringing in new industry. And how do we promote that? And how do we get people to be more proud of what happens here in our community will always stay a focus of the work that we do.
On the chamber side, the chamber has a very broad program of work. We're involved in everything from public policy to economic development to small business to workforce. And it's very, very large in terms of what we're involved in and its impact on the community. So for us, part of it is how do we better tell the story of what Albany's assets are and how the business community plays into affecting all of these things, military affairs, for example. And then from there, how do we find ways to strengthen what we're doing? Because ultimately, from a chamber standpoint, what we do isn't for the benefit of the organization. The organization exists for the benefit of the community. And so how do we utilize our resources in our business community? How do we rally as business leaders to drive that change, to drive the positive growth that we're seeing? So that's where we're focused. That's where we've been focused, but we'll continue to tailor that.
So when you say drive the change, do you come up with policy? Do you call businesses? Do y'all say you should do this better? How does that particular part of it work?
We do. We have a pretty strong public policy program through our legislative affairs, where we work with our city and county officials. We work with our membership, our business members, to identify what some of the priorities that they have are and some of the ways to improve the businesses. What does it take for your business to grow in this community? And so we work through that. We do the same on a state level. We have an annual state legislative agenda where we work with the Georgia delegation to affect those changes. Here's where we stand as a community, and here's what we need you to do. And we have a lobbyist that helps us with that, is in Atlanta all of the time doing that work. And we do the same on the congressional level. So working with our federal partners to do the same in terms of policy. We spend a good bit of our legislative energy at the federal level working with the Pentagon and with the Marine Corps to continue to drive positive momentum there and to communicate the importance of our Marine base here in Albany and what we're doing as a community to strengthen it. So we work with our membership to identify a broad area of policy and needs. We also work with our governmental partners, though, too. And this is where not all communities are built like we are, and we've been very intentional, especially in these last 4 and 5 years, of reaching out and saying, all right, public-private partnerships, right, or just public-private sectors coming together. And so we work with our city or county to identify some common goals and some common public policy items that we can agree on and say, this is what we need for our community, and we push and we drive those.
How do you come up with the new ideas to help bring new things here? Or is that a bad question? I don't know.
I think it's a bad question.
Okay, awesome.
No, I mean, there's lots of ways to drive the change, right? So sometimes it's sitting across the table having lunch and sharing ideas, or having a beer and sharing ideas. Sometimes it's a formal meeting. Sometimes you've surveyed a broad population. You've identified what some of the key things are, and you present it formally. So there's a variety of ways in which we have a relationship and we exchange information about what we need and what our ideas are and where we're going. And again, some of the best ones really are born out of, hey, what do you think about this? I was thinking about this
Skywater.
Right. And what do you think? And we do that. I mean, we have great relationships with our local governmental elected officials, and again at the state and the federal level as well. And so we can have those more casual conversations where we can say, this is what we're thinking. This is what we're hearing from our business partners. This is what our business community needs. But there are occasions where we take a much more structured and formal approach as well.
So one of the things that we care a lot about is, and we've talked about it with Skywater, is our water resource. And the Flint River is one of our biggest water resources. There's been a lot of stuff in the paper recently, and personally, and it affects our business and downtown with a really complex issue, which is the sewage and wastewater disposal, and recently dumping sewage in the river. So one of the things we want to do is highlight some of the issues. We're going to have Gordon Rogers with the River Keepers here on in a few weeks to discuss some of those and talk about that with some of the downtown leaders. Let's just briefly touch on it, just kind of as a lead in to that conversation. Because for me personally, and I understand the issue. The issue is we have a 18th century, 17th century city, which was built here, and in the 1700s with 5,000 people here, it was okay to dump everything in the river. Nobody really knew any different. We didn't understand ecology. Probably people didn't even understand cell theory at that time or bacteriology at that time. So, and now that we've grown, the sewer system or the wastewater system is now hooked up with our others, and then that transports water to our water treatment plant, and all of that stuff is right by the river, and we actually have a permit to dump in the river, and that's not the right thing to do. I agree. I mean, it's not good, but it's legal, I guess, from the standpoint of the state's concerned. So it's one of the things we're going to be highlighting. Just if y'all have any comments on it, please talk about them.
Infrastructure is important for a community. I mean, that's how we live, is by having infrastructure that works. And a lot of times it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yep. Kick the can down the road.
Yeah, if it's working good, we don't think about it. But when it backs up, no pun intended, is when there's a problem. So I think we've got an opportunity to invest in modernizing our infrastructure. That's important for our leaders to consider. The infrastructure that we have has failed us recently.
Mm-hmm.
One good thing, though, to remember to point out is that the Flint River benefits from the aquifer system that we talked about earlier that's
Sure.
here, where we put enough water back onto the surface out of the aquifer that it actually benefits the Flint River. So how do we balance that with the infrastructure that we have and improving it and continuing to grow the community? It's a tricky situation that I'm kind of glad I'm not in charge of making those decisions of how to manage it.
Well,
so,
but it's a conversation that the community needs to have.
Yeah,
Don't you agree?
Definitely.
No, I agree. And if you look back to 2016, we talked about SPLOST a little bit earlier, their special purpose local option sales tax. If you look at SPLOST in 2016, a lot of it really they weren't sexy projects. They were infrastructure projects. They were those projects that you don't see and that you don't know you need. Yeah. Right? Or the citizenry perhaps doesn't really understand the level at which we need them. They passed it with, I think, nearly 80% approval rate. So they got it. And so we know that we are investing in infrastructure. Are they the right investments? I think so. And when are they going to come online? And some of those funds come online. It's a special purpose local option sales tax. They come in through the sales tax. Mm-hmm. So the more you shop local and the more visitors we get to Albany, the more that pot of gold sort of fills up. But certainly the infrastructure component, it's big. It's big for everybody. It's big for small business. It's big for citizens. It impacts our ecosystem. It's important for large industry.
Right. And understanding that we've got a 17th century city, founded 1840s era. And so, and trying to bring that now, we actually only dumped our sewage and our wastewater into the river in the 1960s, and then the EPA stopped that. So as early as then, everything was going in there. And so we've advanced a little bit. We actually increased the capacitance of our wastewater treatment program. But we have two issues. We have the issue of the water runoff, and then we have the water runoff combined with our sewer system, and those things are both connected. And then when things flood, which they tend to do, we're in South Georgia, we're subtropical. We've had so much rain recently. Everybody should understand that. And then we'll have a hurricane, so everything's going to dump into the river every once in a while. So trying to bring those things, and there's a price tag and there's a price associated with it, but if we care about our environment, if we want to have a sustainable environment and ecology for our kids going forth in the years to come, 200 years from now, then we have to deal with these issues. And it's a matter of being an adult and being priority driven and using science that we understand and benefit us. So sort of to end up, with one good last question. What is the thing that y'all are most proud of, your accomplishments you're most proud of?
The brewery.
Awesome.
Having a brewery across the street.
Yeah.
Besides the brewery, maybe I should caveat.
For me, I could list off, businesses that we've worked with and initiatives that we've driven, and those are all worthwhile discussions in terms of new industry, existing industry, small business growth, workforce development programs. I think for me, what I'm proudest of is being part of a real collaborative team who has brought a different perspective to Albany and who has allowed for a new vision for the community. So the Albany that I moved to in 2002 is not really the same Albany today. It is from a certain perspective, certainly, but from a community pride standpoint and from an external branding standpoint, it is significantly different. So I would say, for me, aside from things that we can quantify, again, programs, initiatives, breweries, all of these other things, it's being part of a team that says we're a great community and we can do some really awesome stuff. We've just got to get around the table and figure it out and then do it. Right. And that's exciting to me. I like to build things. Yeah. And so aside from the actual tactile construction of projects, I like to build community. And so that's what I'm most proud of is being in the throes and being given the opportunity to work with amazing people to build this community and see what it can be. I mean, it can be something so awesome. You just gotta do it. Think about it, do it.
Right.
Very cool.
Like my dad says, how would you like to be known as the person who had potential? Like Albany's got a lot of potential, and let's live up to that.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm most proud of, and it happens regularly now, is when you find out somebody had an option of living in multiple different places, and they choose Albany to live in. So when you hear of that, and somebody that works for one of our industries who said, I could live in Oklahoma, California, New York, and I chose to come to Albany and to move my family here and to raise my family here. It's a little bit of reassurance, right, for somebody who's from Albany, that moved back here, raising their family here. To hear that, but also makes you feel like Albany's got a little more swagger than people think that it does, and that it's got that magnetism that you want in a community. So that's when I'm most proud, is when I hear of somebody who could live anywhere and they choose to live in Albany.
You guys do so much, and we've been talking about Coach and Clark. I mean, we almost lost that, right? Is that right?
Well,
I mean,
Coach and Clark destroyed by a tornado in 2017, their distribution center. Could have rebuilt their distribution center anywhere, but chose Albany, as they did 10 years ago. And so rebuilt a 380,000 square foot distribution center, employed 100 people here, and distribute product all over North America from Albany. Pretty cool project.
Right.
I think we will have Gordon Rogers and several of the city commissioners on to talk about the combined city, combined sewer system and wastewater disposal next time, and the issues that we've had there. Keep positive. Say something positive about the city, and drink Pretoria Fields beer. Thank you very much. Cheers. Woo. Thank you.